Yo, what's good? How's it going? Looking glad you're here. My name is Albert Williams III, and welcome back to the Uncommon Legend Experience. And today we have another guest with us. We have our friend here, Allysa Newman. Alyssa, introduce yourself and a little bit about yourself, who you are, all the things.
Well, I am Alyssa Newman, more commonly known as Alyssa Lipsy, because I am a math teacher that still goes by my maiden name rather than my married name.
Fair.
You'll understand it more whenever you have to try to differentiate your life from teenage kids, because privacy is never truly your own.
Mm-mm.
So I
Felt.
felt that in my spirit. I am a secondary math education teacher here in Mississippi. I was born and raised in Mississippi, Pontotoc to be exact. I am only 28 years young. Don't I am an avid lover of reading, whether it be the Bible or anything that is fantasy, anime, anything in between. If it got a little action in it, we here for it. And oh my goodness, I am a fitness enthusiast outside of being a teacher. I started lifting almost at this point, it was 2019 going to 2020. So almost 6 years now, I've been in the gym faithfully.
Yeah, don't let her fool y'all. She got more muscles than me. Like, don't let her fool y'all.
Yeah, I look regular right now, but in about 2, 3, 4 hours, I'm going to be in the gym pushing some iron. Okay?
Put that work.
Always. But that's a little bit about me. I went to Ole Miss after transferring from ICC when I graduated in 2015 from Pontotoc High School. And I have always been an enthusiast of doing things that's good for you and doing things that are for you so you can better serve others. So that's why I went into education. That's why fitness became a second love for me outside of it. And I'm super excited to be here and have this conversation with you, friend.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Yeah, so it's so funny. We were sitting here talking before we started like recording and everything. I met Alyssa almost no, basically 7 years. I don't know. She says
Mhm.
28 years young. I feel 28 years old, especially because like I'll be 29 next month. And for me, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's like my back. I can feel the tightness in my back. But we met years ago, and she was just like a really cool person to be around, just kind of hang around. She like came in, we were vibing, hanging at like this whole little get together gathering, and from there we just kind of just kept up with each other. It's not much of like, oh, let's hey, let's do our monthly FaceTime. It's like, nah, I see your Facebook post. Oh, keep going, girl. Hey, y'all look good. Oh, y'all got married. Go ahead. Now, other than that, it's just high and by like on social media. But
Mhm.
I have appreciated, your transparency and just your ability to talk about difficult things, and I like bring awareness to things as well, because I feel, you have a huge story, right? Just like personally, and all the different things of triumph and everything that you've gone through. And so, one, I appreciate that you're also a community college person, because, I went to
So,
Mississippi Gulf Coast. Yeah, JUCO for life. If you are thinking about college, if you are younger than a college age person and you're watching this, consider community college, because 2 years and you got a degree. So
exactly.
somebody, no, you can't tell me anything. That degree is literally on my like wall at work right now, and like my students go,
Yep.
"Oh man, you got 2 degrees." Yup, I do. Working on the third one, you know. But
Mhm.
hey, look, but like with all those things, I guess the to start us off, you know, you talked a little bit about service and serving others. Why teaching? And I guess the better question: why math? Like, man, like the numbers don't lie.
Okay, so this is a real funny story. When you're younger, especially when you're in such a tight area like Pontotoc, everyone
Hmm.
knows everyone. And so
Hmm.
throughout my years of school, all the way from second grade up until I was a senior in high school, our teachers ever so often would make us write notes to ourselves and write letters to our future selves that we would then get later on in life. And in every one of my letters, I wrote, exclusively do not be a teacher. Like the earliest one was second grade because I remember my teacher telling me, Alyssa, you'd make a great teacher. You are a great leader and you love to do things for others. That
I
is the
see it.
heart of a teacher.
Stop.
And I said, no, I have no patience. I don't want to deal with kids talking back to me. I've seen my siblings. Like, I literally was like, no, you see these rascals? Absolutely not. So every year I would say that up until my senior year, and everything was falling into place. I was top five in my class, and I had no direction. Like, with all the knowledge in the world, I had no direction of what I wanted to do. But I sat down with my AP calculus teacher, my US history teacher, and my chemistry and physics teacher individually because they all wrote me recommendations for scholarships in college. And I trusted them the most with how they knew me because they got to see me from the beginnings of my high school experience all the way to the end. And my AP calculus teacher actually was doing student teaching when I was in fourth grade and I had his mom as my teacher. So he's really seen me since the beginning up until then. And me and his mother had my first real tiff in the sense of I struggled with math in fourth grade, like, because that's when you had to introduce long division and
Mm,
understanding how factors work in multiple contexts. And she was my first opposition. I was used to getting A's all the time. I was used to having the 102s, 105s on assignments. And
right.
I failed some of her quizzes and her homeworks, and I got frustrated, so frustrated. And that was one of the things that I remember the most because it was the first real conversation outside of, home life that I got to talk to my dad about frustrations and how we deal with them in life. So me and him really had a connection where he understood me. And then he was the one who pushed me into tutoring a lot when I was a sophomore, junior, and senior. And he's the one who pushed me into community service that had to do with the school. Um, and he looked at me and said, Alyssa, you'd be an amazing teacher. And I had just wrote myself a letter not even 2 years earlier saying, Alyssa, it's not for you. And this was when I started to become my own adult. And I saw that people who looked like me weren't in education unless they were family or it was an all a demographic heavy school, meaning it was an all black school or it was a Title I school. And the people I got to see that looked like me knew my family. Like that's how I knew that it was very few and far between for me to be successful in education, even though I was so good at it.
Yeah.
And the other two teachers said the exact same thing, go into education. So my last 2 weeks of high school, I completely went into education, but it still wasn't math. I was an art major first because I paint, I draw, I sketch outside of everything else. And my dad looked at me and said, Alyssa, what are you good at? Because your hobby shouldn't become your job. You won't find fulfillment in the long run if you're having to struggle to do it. And I was like,
Wow.
dang it, what am I good at? What am I good at? What am I good at? And then I think back to my geometry teacher when I was a freshman, Miss Zabo. Shout out to her. I love her so much. We're still
Yeah.
friends to this day. And she said, she gave us so much perspective on how math works in real life. And we got to do an assignment where we got to figure out how math works for us. And I
Right.
did a project on the golden ratio, which was how you draw faces
Wow.
from the nose, the eyes, the mouth, the chin, the forehead. And I said, man, I was able to do portraits for people and sketch because I was so good at math. And then I cataloged everything back and I was
Wow.
like,
Wow.
let's say, and I was like, you can recite the, so much stuff that people can't. Like I have such random knowledge of math over
Hmm.
my whole life. And even that struggle with that one piece never stopped me.
Wow.
And from there, I just was like, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to be a math teacher because, again, it's about being able to pour back into what I'm good at while also being able to pour into myself because now
Hmm.
I'm able to do bigger scale things because I can do the ratios easier because
Right.
I went to school for this now. But yeah, it's like you can always say the negative experiences push you into doing something because, I mean, I had a teacher not show up for a whole school year basically for algebra 2 when I was a sophomore. And it turned into me teaching my peers how to do the math.
Man,
And
yeah.
that's when it got brought up. And I said, oh, you can think of the negatives. That pushed me into teaching. But all these things that brought me to this full circle moment, I feel like that's why I chose teaching and that's why I chose math.
Wow, that's like a whole full circle moment, but like in the best way. Like I feel like during all these things you had to learn a lot about yourself, but also being able to take like people's like advice. I think that's like a really necessary quality to have. Especially you're trying to figure out like what am I called to? What am I going to do with my life? How am I going to serve others? What does the next 30, 40, 50 years look like? And you're thinking about this as a young person that translated when you got to college, that you're like, okay, like let's just be real, like this is what this is what I'm gonna do, you know because a lot of times I think we forget about that. Some people are our age, are 28 years young, and still going, I have no idea what I'm going to be when I grow up. But you had you had enough like good influences, and that's really awesome to have enough good influences in your life to say, no, I really think you should do this. And you like, for me, I had the same thing. Like I fought ministry so hard. Like Lord have mercy, I did not want to do it, because for me, ministry was a very tough subject. It was a really tough subject for me, and this is probably the arguably the most transparent I'm gonna go into. I've talked about it privately with a lot of folks, and I'm totally fine with talking about it publicly. But it's the fact that now it's going to be on the highways and byways of the internet. But and so I'm trying to be nice, but also just tell the truth. And I think
Absolutely.
that's the biggest thing. So, long story short, I grew up with my mom and my stepdad, right? Bio dad, I knew who he was, I know who he is, and he was a minister and still is, to an extent these days. And my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, also a reverend. And I respect and love my paternal grandfather. I respect my bio dad in the sense that he's my bio dad, but also I choose not to talk to him. And because when I saw a minister, that's who I saw, and I was like, if that's it, I don't want to be it. I don't want to be that. Like I don't think that's what I want to do. And so for me, I really had to wrestle with like, what am I what am I gonna do? Because my parents are actually both educators. My mom being a history teacher, my dad being a English teacher, and my dad's now a principal. My mom is in like college prep and all these things. So as we were talking before this, some of you know, some of you don't. I failed college a couple of times. I had to go back home, like a whole like redemption arc, too many times that I had a redemption arc and training montage of some sorts in my life in my early 20s. And during all this time, I was wrestling with this thought of ministry. And, it was like the thing of, I had really good mentors. I had, my mom telling me, like, hey, look, you can do this thing, you know, but the reality was like I had to figure out what that looked like for me personally. Like as did you, like as I was listening to your story, you figured out what that looked like for you personally through your art and being able to draw. You're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing math my entire life, and for
Exactly.
me, it's like I've been ministering to people my entire life. From like the moment I was born, essentially, it was the moment I started ministering to people because apparently I was just a really happy baby, and
Nothing wrong with it.
yeah, no. So I pray for those days. Although that is not an announcement for those of you that are looking for it, because every single day I am on these highways and byways of Instagram. Someone goes, "Is that an announcement? Are you and Kat? Are y'all about to have a baby?" I'm like, I know our baby's gonna be pretty, but calm down. Like,
You better say it. I just stopped responding at this point. I look at the comment and I go, nice.
like I ain't got time
Don't
for
you
you
see
today.
I have a lot of children? Do you not see I have almost 200 underneath me? Like, absolutely not. They take my money like they mine. So,
I'm
absolutely.
trying to tell you, I'm tired of going to cookout. I'm tired of going to cookout. because these kids,
Every
we going
time
to
I eat,
cookout.
they eat. Exactly. Every time I eat, they eat. I'm over
So
here feeding the
yeah,
masses like Jesus. Okay.
like
Like, so
we ain't look. We out here taking two fishes, 5 loaves of bread. It
right
ain't
there.
even 5 loaves. It's 5 pieces.
Exactly. We
It
over
ain't
here
even a good
on the
kind.
bus. I love them to death. But when I tell you I can break out some fruit snacks with 5 pieces in it, they'll be like, so am I going to get one? Now I'm like,
Look,
oh, it's a fruit snack packet. What you
I'm trying to
mean? This is
tell you, like, let me
so I
breathe
get it.
now.
You already know.
So yeah, for me, like choosing ministry, like just kind of hearing like your story and choosing teaching, like I feel like that's really awesome that you had really good mentors, and so you're in teaching now. You've been doing it like we talked about earlier, basically 8 years of teaching.
Hmm.
What is I guess like one of the I can't say the best because sometimes the best lessons are not our favorite lessons, but like what is in your top three, what are some of the most quality lessons that you've learned from teaching, and I guess like how that has transferred into life as well.
One of the biggest things I learned was never assume that you're not teachable. Every teacher is a student. And the sense of you're learning about yourself, you're learning about children, you're learning about the world through their eyes. And you can never assume that you know more than them because you don't have their lived in experience. Age does not determine knowledge because some of these kids have lived a life that I couldn't even imagine living through, and they still will show up just to see you and see your face and to learn a lesson from you. And it breaches into the next thing. Every lesson doesn't have to be curriculum.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're teaching them how to live life and how to deal with situations. One of the biggest things that they learned from me, and this group just graduated this past year, actually. So when they were freshmen, I lost my stepbrother, and it was right before Christmas. I got the news on the 23rd of December. So our whole lives basically flipped around, and I had to basically grapple with that when I came back to school, not even a week and a half later. And I had an incident happen at the school between an administrator and a student that really just where I was trying to hold it together, it broke me down. And I fell apart before first block even started. And I always normalized being emotional to the kids, but always knowing when to be professional. There's always a
Right.
time and a place. But they've never seen me just fall apart. And so I had to take some time away from them. And then I came into the classroom and I taught my lesson. But before I can even get started, I said, guys, I'm just going to let you know, like, this is what's happening in my life right now, very briefly. And I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. And just know this is not going to stop me from loving you and taking care of you. I have to take care of me sometimes, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that I forget about you in those moments when I have to step away.
Mm.
And in my memories, a note from one of those seniors came back and she thanked me for showing up, and she was very apologetic about my loss.
Mm.
And when she graduated, she said, "You showed me that showing up is more than just doing. Sometimes it's just being present."
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things because the biggest lessons I teach a lot of these children that go home to bizarre and unusual situations is that if you show up, that's enough.
Mm.
If you do something, that's even better. If you excel, that's even better.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes just seeing your face is the best thing that can happen. And sometimes just being in the moment is the thing that you can do for yourself. And there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. So be teachable, always be a student, teach lessons that go beyond the classroom. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, it's still working on my heart as a teacher and as a person, because now they know I'm a person
Yeah.
outside of the classroom. And third is don't allow someone else to tell you what's best when you have a lived in experience. You
Mm.
can listen while also offering a different perspective without seeming to be angry, oppositional, or dismissive.
Mm.
It's always one of those things where I know that I'm not the oldest person in the building. I know I'm not the biggest well of knowledge to some people. But when you do what I do, I go from remediation to accelerated at
Mm.
a drop of a hat, meaning when they need me, I'm there. I fill in the
Mm.
blanks. You have to be able to step back and let someone guide you, and then you can come in and eventually you can guide them. but you have to be able to step back and reflect. Hindsight's 2020, but if you keep making the same mistakes that you made on the first day, that means you didn't learn anything.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just those are the top 3 things that I took away from teaching that I use in my everyday life, and it helps me have discipline, but also be realistic about my feelings, thoughts, and how I approach the world, because you never truly know what to do until you have a student in a foster situation having to go back into a CPS situation, and you're the only person that knows that kid. Like,
Girl,
you're the
that's
only person that
That's Cat's lane. Oh Lord. Yeah.
And that happened to me pretty recently where I developed a bond with this student, and I was the only one who really knew her. And I was the only one that really could speak for her. And I was there the entire time. She was with me from the beginning up until everything fell apart. So when that's the kind of thing that has really opened my eyes to how I advocate in the world, not just for children, but also for myself and people who do what I do, whether it be through ministry or through education. And it's building a community based off of love, trust, compassion, empathy, and understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's huge. Yeah, I mean that's literally you talking about that, and, like my heart just, Kat has a lot of good experiences with her being in social work, but every now and again, with being a foster care placement manager, you have those that you just go, this kid has been through
Yeah.
too much. But no,
Yeah.
but going back to circle back to kind of what you were saying, that is so huge. Just being teachable and paying attention to people's like lived in experience. I love that phrase so much. It's not the first time I've heard it, but like you just reminded me of that, you know, because for me in ministry and in theology, we talk about an embodied faith, right? What it's like to have like a faith that's not out there, but something that's in here, something that is embedded in oneself that allows you to then transfer that outwards, but it has to start inward, and paying attention to that child's, you know, inward living, right? We're
Yeah.
so fixated sometimes on the looks that
Yes.
we have no idea what it feels like to be within that specific situation or that thing. And I think that's so huge, and I think that's really valuable that you've learned that. And I mean, heck, to learn that before 30, honestly, like that's huge, man. I wish I had teachers that would have, because a lot of my teachers, I had a lot of good ones, but I had a lot that just, they just, it was like the empathy was just wasn't there. And and I
And
don't
it's
think it
because
was.
it's taught to differentiate it from curriculum. Like, it's about, and even right now, teaching is not teaching, becoming in a political stance of what can we do to separate the kid from the child in the classroom.
Yep.
And but you can't do that.
You can't.
You can't. Like, whenever you see a child, like you said, they look at the outwardly, they
Mhm.
look at them physically, phenotypically, and they judge them based off attitude rather than what has been the past, what's currently happening, to let that child trust you. A child will never learn from somebody they don't like.
Mhm.
So if they can't relate to you, they can't see you, and they know that you can't see them, they will
Right.
never decide to take a lesson from you. And
Right.
that's just what it is. You
Yeah.
could be the best teacher in the building on paper, but if they don't like you in person, you already lost the battle
Right.
because you decided not to love them as they are.
Yeah. No. That's true, and that's probably why you got kids in your room all the time, because you're giving them a real person, because like I think a lot of times we get in these professions, we get in these different places and spaces, and like that whole professionalism, which is very necessary, it takes
It is.
precedence over our actual presence, and it's just not like at the end of the day, it's like I was talking with my loctician, and she and I talk about this all the time. There is something about seeing somebody with sacred worth, you know, and like treating that person like they are sacred. Like these kids, like they're
Exactly.
kids. At the end of the day, they are children, and
Yes.
they have so much going through their minds that they cannot actually speak to quite yet, and even with my college students.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's our job to model it. And if you can't show them that a conversation can be had, even
Mm,
if it doesn't make 100% sense at the moment, you have to be able to have those tough conversations while keeping it kid friendly and kid adjusted
mm,
because they're learning so much about themselves. A lot of them just have never seen that modeled at
no.
all. You have to practice what you preach. Again, like I tell them, I can't ask you to have a clean desk if my desk is messy. I can't I can't ask for that. I can't ask for you to be on time if I'm late every day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't ask for you to turn in notes when I'm not turning in grades. It's not fair. And I will always model what I expect from you. And if I'm having open conversation with you that might seem hard, I expect you to do that with me and do it with the
Mm,
other adults in your life that you trust to have these conversations.
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And that's why I was like, even with college students, like, I mean, yeah, I was telling some youth, I had the opportunity to preach to some youth here this week, and I'm like, baby, college students ain't nothing but teenagers and preteens with bigger bodies. Like
Clock it.
they got the
Say
same
that.
emotions and the same amount of money, just bigger bodies
Hmm.
and bigger emotions, like
You better
bigger
say it.
feelings. Because I mean, until that prefrontal cortex, that frontal lobe freaking develops, and you don't know what it's like to make a sound decision, not something based off of, what is someone else going to think about me? How is this going to affect me? But rather, how is this going to affect the people around me? How does this affect my life afterwards? Like thinking long term and
Yeah.
not just in the short term. And, thinking about, am I really going to still be mad with this person tomorrow? Like you can't do that yet. And I think that those are like invaluable lessons. And, I think that's like one of the things that we miss out on because we're so fixated on that outward thing that we're not paying attention to the thing that's inward, the thing, the soul, so to speak, and
Yeah.
I think that's, I can talk about that all day. To shift gears, I guess, and thank you again for sharing that. That's awesome stuff. To shift gears, we talked about fitness a little bit earlier. Okay. So you have been, an avid workout girly for the past few years. I can't say the other one, that might be a little inappropriate, but because I would say it jokingly, but like
Yeah.
people be weird. I'm like, oh my gosh, Albert, you said. I'm like, that doesn't mean that I have a wife that I love dearly. Like
And
anyway,
I have
I
a
digress.
husband, child. This is friends, okay?
Like, come on, come on.
And I know his wife, guys, please.
But yeah, no, not to mention everybody can see what you liked on Instagram these days, and I ain't getting caught up in none of that.
You better say that. You better say that. You remember when they used to show you like their activity feed? Like you could click on
Yes,
somebody, you could see.
yes.
Instagram was messy. It's
Petty,
messy.
petty. I'm talking about them devs was out here going, I see my man.
Expose them. Expose them immediately.
I'm getting my man, your man's, everybody man's is out here exposed. They out here in these
Exactly.
streets liking all these little half naked photos, and I'm about to get you.
When I tell you, I liked one dark joke image. Like this was years ago.
Yes,
And it was like a dark joke, like talking about something like it was a black joke and it was so funny.
yes.
Oh my goodness. Like if you can't laugh at yourself, how can you laugh at anything else?
That's what
And it made me laugh. It's almost the equivalent of the kids telling me, Miss Lipsy, you have white family, so you only get to celebrate Black History Month till the 14th. Like it was kind of one of those. Oh, they ate me up. I said, it's kind of like one of those. Tell me why somebody showed my dad, and he was like, Alyssa, let's not, okay? Like, not all things are private. I said,
yeah,
that's you exposing me. Like, I had to take a second and realize, like, how'd they even get that? And I didn't even know that it
yeah.
did the activity list. I didn't know it showed so and so like this, and you could click the photo.
Petty.
I said, "Ooh, the exposure." They knew better. They
Petty.
knew better.
I had ex girlfriends that would watch that. What you been liking? Yeah, nope.
Thank God it wasn't me. Woo.
That's another story for another day.
When I tell you I stopped liking everything, I would just post. I'd be like, if it ain't a friend's post, if we ain't mutuals, I ain't liking it.
I can't even like mutuals.
I just like that's all I would do. I would like it, leave. Because I ain't about to
Look.
like nothing else. I can get back to the house. No,
Well,
no.
shoot, I was a cheerleader in college, and I would just let that ride.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it, Albert.
So, yep, I was just always in trouble. Like that. That's
Yeah.
just. But thankfully, I'm married to Kat, and that's all that matters. Because she like, if you gonna leave, you gonna leave, and I'd be like, girl, I ain't going nowhere. What you mean? I prayed
You
for
gonna
this.
say that?
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Like, no, I am not
Yeah.
about to mess this up. What you talk about? Yeah,
I'm about to make my name for myself
I'm
over
about to make
here.
a name for myself. Yeah.
They're gonna be
I,
like, that all they did was make references this whole interview.
exactly. That's the whole point. Like, if we can't be real and talk about things in life and pop culture, and especially in Marvel movies, is this really an interview? Is this really an episode with Albert? It's all right. So fitness, why was that like a really big like area for you in terms of like, you know what, I'm gonna commit to this, and because I think a lot of times people get into it strictly for progress, and from from what I've gathered, it really for you was just like, this is my life, and it became very much like a part of your lifestyle, not that it was like, oh, I'm gonna do this just so I can only see progress, just so I can only get clicks. Right now, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I wish you well on your fitness influencer journey, and I'm be like, follow her, look at the YouTube. She got all the workouts. But like for you, like why was like why has this become like so important for you?
Truly, I would be amiss to not mention Mason, who's my husband.
Mm,
He
goat.
really saved me from myself in the sense of he helped me like really get back into it because I was a big fitness person in my youth, like my
Mm,
early youth. And then when the stress of college came around, it kind of became, am I going to take care of myself or am I going to take care of this degree? Am I going to be able to reach those expectations that my family has for me, being the first of my siblings to go to college, full paid tuition, everything covered for me? And I've always been the one to take care of everything else, and I completely neglected myself. And it was one of those things where I ended up going, me and Mason met in 2019. Oddly enough, I was printing my honors thesis and we met at Office Depot. And we did not like each other. You know how they things happen in threes. We had to meet three times before we actually, he asked me out to breakfast as a friend and I became his
mm,
physics tutor. We were neighbors
wow.
and we became friends before we ever became a couple. It
Mm,
took my best friend Anna getting married for us to even cross that line of friendship to become a relationship. And we've been together ever since. And one day I was just having a really bad, I had an illness coming and going, and I couldn't figure out what it was because I usually don't get sick. And it was right around before COVID happened. So I thought that like I had COVID, like I was really nervous about that kind of stuff because pre-existing conditions in life are just, it doesn't coexist well when those kind of things happen. So I ended up going to the doctor. They were like, you're okay, you're fine. But then I went to my dentist of all people and I was supposed to get some work done. And I was just talking to her very casually. And this is how you know God works in ways that you don't anticipate.
mm,
She looked at me and she said, I'm noticing that your teeth are just, they look like they're like really going down really quickly. So I want to see what's going on. And I was like, okay. She's like, have you ever like had intense like bloating, fatigue, lethargy, that kind of stuff? And I was like, yeah, I've been having it so much more recently than not. And she was like, do you think that you might have an intolerance to gluten, carbs, that kind of stuff?
wow.
That you're not, your body's not digesting sugar as well. And eventually I found out that I had PCOS, which is literally
Mm,
insulin resistance and that kind of stuff. It took that one meeting and I
yeah.
came home crying and I was like, and then COVID happened. So I was crying over that. And she was like, basically, you could lose all of your teeth and stuff like that if you don't make life changes. And I
Wow.
said, and I was like, oh my goodness, like life doesn't hit you till it hits you all at once.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I tell people that if you don't take the steps to take care of yourself, it hits you when you least expect it. And that hit me. And I came home, and Mason got his bachelor's and his master's in exercise science. So he was like, Alyssa, there's things that you can do. Like, we can start subbing things out. This was when it was still very new to have like the no added sugar things that actually tasted good,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
gluten that actually felt like it was real,
Mm,
and all this other stuff. But we were also isolating.
right.
So he was at his place, I was at my place. And so eventually I got up, I changed my entire diet. I started walking around my apartment complex. And between that and me getting married in 2021, I
Mm,
lost 90 pounds,
wow.
dropped it completely. And
That's awesome.
then as I felt great health wise. Like, I learned to not look at the scale, but I
Mm,
kept up with it because I needed to be able to talk to my doctor about what was going on. And whenever all that was going on, I just, again, I wasn't happy. And I wasn't happy because people, again, you say go into fitness as an aesthetic, that kind of thing.
hmm
But I went into it for a health reason, and I still didn't feel healthy. I went from my heaviest to my lowest weight, and I still felt the same. And I
Right.
said, this just isn't it. And me and Mason sat down, and he said, have you ever thought about just going in the gym
Yeah.
and doing some strength training? And I said, Mason, I'm not strong enough for strength training. Like, I can't do these things. And he really pushed me and pushed me. And I was in the gym full time by the end of 2021, more than a 4 or 5 day split at a time. And
Yeah.
I went from lowest weight to gaining almost 30 pounds in muscle,
Wow.
um, then and now.
Yeah.
And it's just, I would be completely incorrect to not say Mason was my biggest inspiration and my biggest cheerleader through all of that. But he
That's
really gave
awesome.
me perspective of what fitness was, because it saved my life. And it became, again, another ministry other than education, because the kids are going to do what you model.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
explain to them that Takis and Gatorade are not breakfast, they're going to
Yeah.
understand why.
Please.
They're going to understand why they don't feel good. And so
Mm,
one day I had a student that we just determined probably had like a sleeping issue, a sleep apnea issue,
mm,
and he was severely overweight. And me and his mom just had to talk candidly about, I was like, have you ever thought about, taking him to a specialist to see if his weight is a big contributing factor to it? Because me and him have been talking individually about what he's been eating and what he's been doing physically while he's at school to try to make his life a little bit easier. And that kid, by the time I had him as a freshman, when he was a senior, he dropped almost 60 pounds,
wow.
almost unrecognizable, no real medical issues. And it became that for me, like us just sitting there talking. I'd take a bag of Funyuns from a kid and say, do you realize there's no nutritional value here? Why are you drinking Gatorade first thing in the morning when
Yeah.
it's all electrolytes and salt? You haven't been sweating, so your body's
hmm
going to get dehydrated. That's why you
Yeah.
have a headache at 10:30 in the morning. Drink
Yeah.
water. It's free. We literally had the school install the water bottle fillers. So,
hmm
which means you just
hmm
hold it up and it fills up just like on a college campus. I'm
Yeah.
like, water's free. It's accessible. That's why you don't feel good. I couldn't say that as somebody overweight.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
say it as somebody who wasn't taking care of themselves, because the phrase in class is you look good, feel good, you do good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I come in here, face beat every day, hair fixed every day, outfit on 10, but
hmm
I still don't take care of myself, I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. And
hmm
fitness allows me to do that. Also, it creates great conversation with my boys. Mainly for the fact they'll go, all right, what PR did we get this week? All right, we
Yeah.
got to up that weight a little bit. And I'm like, I still lift more than you.
Yeah.
So
Get your weight up, son.
I'm double your age. Like, catch up, son. Didn't you get hurt in wrestling yesterday? Yeah, I
hmm
heard about that. So it's like one of those things where it creates a bigger community for the kids. And again, when they see me, I have a teacher Instagram as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep them up to date with my fitness as I go in the most child friendly way possible.
Yeah.
Meaning,
Yeah.
like, I went full Hulk Hogan. I was like, these 24-inch ones. So they
Man.
know I lift weights and I can lift you and toss you out this room.
Uh
Okay. I
huh.
don't want to. I'd rather hug you. But it's funny when a kid like gives me a hug and they're like, Miss Lipsy, your back is crazy. Yeah, I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, you ain't
That's
know.
wild. Or they go, don't choke me. I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to. Side hugs. But that's what fitness really did for me. And I feel like it gave me another way of allowing the kids to realize take care of yourself early so you don't have to have those big life scares like I did. Like,
Mhm.
and me going to the gym really does manage my PCOS. I completely handle all of it without any kind of medication help. So
That's
going in the
awesome.
gym, drinking water, watching my diet, making sure it's good foods, whole foods, that kind of stuff. Now, don't get
Mhm.
me wrong, I'm not a calorie tracker.
Right.
Don't get it twisted. I never look at the scale because at the end of the day, muscle weighs more than fat and it's
Yeah.
always going to make you heavier every single time.
Yep.
Please avoid it if you can.
Yeah.
But it's just, I feel like it opened so many doors for me, which opened doors for what I can do. Also, it's great, it's fun, and
Mhm.
you get to reflect back and let people see that anyone can do something to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be the skinniest influencer on social media to have
Right.
an impact on people. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome because that's so huge. I think, and yeah, you don't have to be the skinniest because like I think like the thing is people at the end of the day, people want to see real people with real results that are like that is something that can be maintained. Like one
Yes.
of my favorite like influencers, I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to you, is a woman. And I've been following her since like I was in college. And I didn't even realize how long I'd been following her until she like posted videos like, yeah, at 35. And I'm like, I thought you were like in your 20s. I was like, no, no, she was in her 20s years ago. Years ago, like 6 years ago. So yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, cool. Yeah. So it was like, wait, I've been following you that long. And she talks about like when she was like really small and like she was big into fitness then. And then she realized, why am I watching this scale when I could just be a machine?
Exactly.
She's like, uh yeah, like you might follow, I don't know if you follow Kelly Matthews. Like, I mean,
Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
she has taught me so much about the body, the female body, because it helped me understand like cat and how to like what are some good expectations for like women, like because I had none, but I was like, how can I help cat? And like she wants to be in fitness, it's like I'm not one of those weird people of like you have to look a certain way. Like I'm like, well, if you feel good, and cat's like, well, I don't feel good, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry,
Oh,
yeah, I'm like, sorry. But no, cat, she is, you know, she's been trying to figure out her whole fitness journey too because she didn't grow up playing like sports or anything. So like being an athlete for me, this was like super transferable. But Kat had a really good nutrition side, so like she's had that, and so we've been trying to like meet in the middle on that. But but she's taught me so much about like what are real expectations, what like also what are some good goals to set as you're getting older too, because she's like I'm getting older but I'm also getting better, and like she's taught me a lot. And yeah, I appreciate her a lot, and she's also like hilarious too, so like I appreciate her content a lot. Like I was, as I've been getting into like content creating, I've been watching different people's like how they set up their videos and all the things, and like she was one. I was like, oh, girl, you're doing a lot of editing, but props to you, Chowdy. Like, go for it.
it's very much, very
Look,
much.
and I have officially my buddy Trey, who was on with me last week. He convinced me to move from Premiere Pro to DaVinci Resolve, and I'm not mad at all because DaVinci Resolve is free, and free is for me. Like I've already said that
Yes.
before, and I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face. It's gonna be a long time because I'm brown. DaVinci Resolve is
You better say sponsor him.
hey, look, like I need that.
Send him
Uh,
stuff.
hey, send me the stuff. I'm not that good though, so you gotta be slow with it. All right, don't like I ain't
Hold
got
on.
all the stuff, but I'm building.
Hang on.
I'm building.
Exactly. I heard the phrase "fake it till you make it." Okay,
Hey,
sometimes
look,
you gotta, you gotta throw the lines out there.
uh huh, yeah, yeah. So with all those things though, I think that's so huge. So between, teaching and fitness and just all around life, to round us out, how has the last, I guess, 5 years, how what is like the biggest lesson you've learned over the last 5 years, and what would you tell if you could tell yourself 5 years ago, like, hey, we did this thing, like what would it be?
The biggest phrase I heard in general, especially because I started teaching so young
Mm,
compared to a lot of my counterparts, is that you don't have to make yourself small to fit in a community. Those who have a spot for you at the table will always give you a seat.
mhm,
And those who wish to keep you away from it, stay away from it.
mm.
You're allowed to say no. And you're
Mm,
allowed to walk away from something that doesn't serve you or serve your community, serve your people, and serve your purpose. God would never open a door that's meant to harm you. That's just not how it is. And you need to listen to your gut
mhm,
every time. Because if it's not feeding the three F's, whether it be financial, faithful, or friendly, like your
mhm,
actual friends, it's just not worth it,
mm,
in the sense of you should be able to come into a room and see respect every single time.
mhm.
If you don't see it, it's not for you,
Yeah.
and it's not your place to force it. Education, fitness, it's one of those things where you're breaking a mold every time you walk in just by being a Black person doing it. And being a young Black person means that you never have to apologize for being different,
Mhm.
because we're inherently so.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be different if you're feeding the purpose of creating diversity in what you see.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest things I took away in my last 3 to 5 years, because even in the conversation I had yesterday, I told you I went for coffee with a friend.
Mm,
I told her I will never apologize for having feelings, because feelings are what makes me inherently human.
right.
And if someone can demonize emotions, that says more about them than it does about me. Because
Mhm,
if your name's not mentioned, why are you the first one to speak out about it? If you are not the forefront of their mind, don't make them the forefront of yours.
mm,
It takes just as much energy to hate someone that it is to love them. And I would
mhm.
rather love than hate every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this has done for me in fitness, in my faith journey. Like, buying a new Bible is a cathartic experience. Everyone should do it.
Yes.
Or take your old Bible, and I'm not sponsored by this group at all, but Crew and Co., which is in Byhalia, Mississippi.
Mm,
They also take your Bibles and they can fix them and make them customized to you. So even if you want to keep your old Bible, you can
yeah.
go and do that. I'll be sending one off soon because they
Yeah.
look amazing. But it's just truly, don't shrink yourself to fit in a community that was never for you. You'll find your people. Find your marigolds, find your yellows. Always remain optimistic, not positive, optimistic,
Yeah.
because even positivity can be toxic.
Oh, preach. That's facts. Like, cause toxic positivity. I mean, I had a conversation with a friend years ago, and he's like, I'm trying to always be positive, and like, and you're positive all the time. I say, who positive all the time? I'm not. Like, dude, I'm going through hell right now. Like,
Yeah.
I I'm thinking about what's on the other side, but I'm living in this right now, and like positivity is not going to get me through it. My drive and my will to see that, tough times don't last always. That's going to get
Mhm.
me through. But baby, I am not positive right now. I am pissed off.
Yeah. And
But
that's the
yeah.
difference. People don't realize optimism and positivity are not mutually exclusive or
Mhm.
inclusive of each other.
Yeah.
So it's just, you can be optimistic and still not be positive about the situation.
Right.
And that's just called reality of living. And
Mm.
that's something that us as people of color have always seen in history, and what we still deal with to this day. Even me walking in, I'm the only person of color who teaches. math at my school. I was the only person of color for nearly 3 years at my school,
Mm,
on that side of the school. And it's one of those things where it's not to talk bad about the school because, again, I was there. Even if I was the only representation at the time, the kids still had somebody. And they still had someone who they could turn to over this. My coworkers had somebody they can come and talk to about things that might be racially insensitive or things that they might not see as appropriate. And that's what I mean by your people will find you.
yeah,
And it's up to you to determine if you're willing to fall to the feet of the people that do not respect you, or if you're willing to stand up and do what needs to be done in order to see change happen. And I feel like that was my season for a long time. And I'm not in that season anymore because I released, I let go, and we're back in it again.
yeah, yeah. Man, that's awesome. That's powerful. Like for real. I think people don't realize like the depth of that because like to touch on it briefly. So I'm the only black campus minister in the state of Georgia, probably within all of the southeast. Well, no, I take that back. I take that back. I think there's another gentleman, but he's at an HBC. PWIs, I'm probably my mentor. My mentor argued. He was like, "You're probably the only black man that's a Wesley director in the nation, Albert. Like, let's be real." And my mentor's a white guy, and and like, and he was my campus minister. It's my boy, Eric. He's awesome, but like, you know, he was like, let's be real. Like what you're doing is trailblazing. It's pioneering a way that some student is gonna come through that ministry and go, I can do that. And that's a fact. That's I've had students, as few as black students that I've had, they've gone, wait, like somebody that looks like me can do this. Like, and so I think that's awesome that you recognize that I am the only, and I'm gonna embrace that. Not use it as like, "Ugh, I'm the only one here," but like I'm the only one here, and I'm gonna bring some light to this, and I can turn this into something good rather than always being fixated on like I'm down and I'm oppressed. Baby, I ain't oppressed.
Never that.
Oppression? No, we ain't doing that here, because
No,
I'm coming through swinging,
better say it.
like because I think that's huge. So do you have any questions for me?
Oh my gosh, Albert, that's a big one.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
I I wasn't prepared to become the interviewer.
I just wanted to throw it out there. If you had any questions for me.
I feel like the biggest questions I could have asked, you also answered
Mm,
along with mine as responses, because the thing is, what we do is very similar. They cross paths
yeah.
very much. If
Yeah.
we had to draw a diagram of what we do, there's more things that are in the middle than they are separate.
For
Um,
real.
Let me throw in that school reference there, a Venn diagram, ladies and gentlemen. We ain't heard
Mm-hmm.
that in a hot. And I feel like what you do is something that, again, is seen as such a service to those who don't really consider it, just like teaching is,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't realize how important it is until someone says, well, they do these lists of things just on
Mm,
campus. So they do these
yeah.
lists of things just for this and for that. And, some of our conversation that we had beforehand about the idea of failure and being able to come back from it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like those experiences for you really molded how you perceive how you approach your students and your ministry?
Definitely so. Because it where all the students I come across, I don't look like them. And my students being majority white, and even for my black students or my Hispanic or my Asian students, I have a certain perspective because I understand the pressure of having to be the person. Like I have to be on top of everything. And whether you're privileged or whether you're underprivileged, right? Whether you grew up entitled or you grew up going, I say, praise be to God that I had this thing. you know we're all leveled by failure. We are all made like we're all humble once we fail, once we mess up, once we don't get the thing, like I had a student apply for, a job and they didn't get the job, or I had a student apply for the scholarship and they didn't get the scholarship, right? Or they applied to this school and they didn't get in, like for grad school or this thing or what have you, or they got rejected by the boy or the girl, right? And I remind them that like we're we're all the same, like no matter that, yes, I'm a dark chocolate man, I can empathize with that, like because I've been through this thing. I know I'm stupid but like
This was
I've
great. This was great. I needed that.
but like just because I don't look like you doesn't mean I don't know what you're going through, you know
Exactly.
and i
That
have
part.
I have been through the valley and I have seen it, but I've also been to the mountaintop too, you know. And I try to always encourage them that you can't stay on the mountaintop too long, but you can't stay in the valley too long either. You got to be able to allow life to go its course and not stay at one thing too long because you'll get comfortable and you'll get complacent and you'll stop growing. So, yeah, you're going to fail. And I tell them fail forward, mess up as much as possible, especially during the 18 to 24, mess up.
Yes.
Specifically in college, mess up as often as necessary for you to get better. Don't go and do stupid
Mm.
stuff, but like try your hardest to do the best thing possible and you just messed up, right? You
Yeah.
didn't email that professor back and you should have because you needed the thing. Okay, now you learned you got to be on top of that thing. Okay? That's
Yes.
okay. Fail forward because next time you're going to email that professor because you're going to need that recommendation or you're going to need this help on this assignment or you're going to need to be able to have people to contact that can speak on behalf of your character and all these things.
Mhm.
But mess up trying to do the right thing versus
Amen.
choosing to do the wrong thing because you don't want to mess up. It's like a lot of times we get caught up in the, well, I don't want to do the wrong thing, and then we we forget that inaction is still an action, you know and
Absolutely.
like we're so afraid of messing up, we're so afraid of doing wrong, we're so afraid of failure that we just stop and we don't realize that that's actually making us worse than actually making us better.
Absolutely. Well, that was a great response, and I feel like that's put a bow on it.
Yeah, yeah, wrap it up. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and look forward to more guests and more appearances from folks and just highlighting everyday people living everyday lives. So be good, y'all. Peace, love, and hair grease.